All right? So again, following our laws of hermeneutics, we have to take context into account, because context is king. Definitions are important, okay? But the definition of Sabbath also means keeping the seventh-day Sabbath, not just the sevens, okay? Now, God, again, didn't leave it up to man to determine which day his Sabbath was going to be. We read this passage in a previous video, but again, it comes right to the question of what we're talking about here. It's a long one, so I'll read it again. This is Exodus chapter 16, verses 16 through 28. It says, "This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Each man gather it according to his eating, an omer for a head, according to the number of your souls. Each one shall take for those who are in his camp." And the sons of Israel did so, and gathered. Of course, we're referring to the manna. Some more and some less. And when they measured with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little lacked nothing. They gathered each one according to his eating. And Moses said, "Let no man leave of it until the morning." But they did not listen to Moses, and some of them left it until the morning, and it became rotten with maggots and stank. And Moses was angry with them, and they gathered it every morning, each man according to his eating. And when the sun became hot, it melted. And it happened, on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said to them, "This is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake what you will bake today, and boil what you will boil, and that which remains over lay up for you to be kept until the morning." And they laid it up until the morning, as Moses said, and it did not stink, neither were there any worms in it. And Moses said, "Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you shall not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, in it there shall be none." And it happened, some of the people went out on the 7th day in order to gather, and they did not find any. And the Lord said to Moses, "How long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws?" Now we see clearly in this passage that God is showing the people which day his Sabbath was on, and this was regardless of what each individual wanted or what they believed to be true. God didn't leave it up to us which day of the sevens he was going to designate as his Sabbath. He designated it. He made it holy. See, God distinguished in this story the 7th day from the rest by the manna staying fresh on the Sabbath morning, because you remember days 1 through 6, if they kept it overnight, they woke up and it was rotting and stinking. Didn't do that on the Sabbath morning, because God is showing there's definitely a difference in the day. Now, you'll know the symbolism too about, at least I would hope so. There's a reason too that God carved his commandments in stone. You know, they say that if something is written in stone, it shows how permanent it is. Where do you think that idiom came from? It came from God's writing his laws and the unchangeable stone of the tablets. So he's just reflecting that to the children of Israel in this story. Now, I don't hold one church denomination particularly above another. Yes, I think some are more accurate than others. And I know that sometimes churches or two denominations sometimes will butt heads and kind of go back and forth with arguments a little bit. That's just the way the world seems to be sometimes. I did find it interesting, though, that the Brethren Church wrote a book called Words of Truth and Grace. On page 281 of that book, they will give, I will quote you, a confession that they made, where apparently they were in an argument concerning the 7th day with Seventh-day Adventists. And at the end of this back and forth argument, this is what the Brethren Church had to say. It says, "With the views of the law on the Sabbath we once held, and which are still held by perhaps the great majority of the most earnest Christians, we confess that we could not answer Adventists. What is more, Neither before or since have I heard or read what would conclusively answer an Adventist in his scriptural contention that the seventh day is the Sabbath. It is not 1 day in 7, as some put it, but the seventh day according to the commandment. I don't know much, frankly, about the Brethren Church, but I have to commend them on their honesty in writing, putting to writing an admission like that despite all the argument that I'm sure that preceded the writing of their book, that they could not come up with a valid reason that would overturn the Adventist contention that the seventh day is the Sabbath and that we should be keeping it. Now, right now, I can already hear the arguments out there. I know many of you are thinking, well, wait, didn't the Apostle Paul abrogate the Sabbath and all the laws of God? And that, he made it clear that we're no longer under that schoolmaster? Well, I have two answers to those objections regarding Paul. First, Paul didn't teach that the law was done away with, despite what some pastors may have told you, and despite what a superficial reading of his letters may have produced in your mind. I will prove in a future video, I haven't decided on a name yet, it will probably be something like Paul and the Law, something catchy like that. I will prove to you that Paul was a keeper of the Torah in full.